to our academy, and especially Jan Ketil and Sandy here will take care of you guys for the next 3 hours or so. And the topic, as you can see, is mobile device management. So that being said, Jan Ketil, Sandy, welcome so much, and I will let you take the floor, and then wish you best of luck.
All right. So Sandy.
Oh, that's me.
You're on the
Yes.
screen now.
Yes. I don't recognize myself. It's different hair color. Yeah, so I am Sandy Zheng. I am now sitting in Finland. I work in CloudWay, and I am Microsoft Intune. Actually, it's Microsoft Security MVP in the Intune catalog, and also a Windows MVP as well. So in CloudWay, I work as a senior cloud architect, so mainly focusing on device endpoint management and also securities, automation, and all kind of stuff. Yes, and also do trainings, of course.
That's
Yeah,
it?
that's all. Simple. Yes.
Oh, okay. Next slide then. That's me. So yes, and I am Jan Ketil, and I'm sitting in Norway. So that's also in the Nordic of Europe. So I also work in CloudWay. I has been a MVP since 2016. It feels like forever, and it is actually a long time ago now. Yeah, I work as a principal cloud architect in CloudWay. My main focus area of the latest years has been around identity and access management, security, automation, and sometimes you also do work with mobile device management. I also do a lot of speaking. You typically find me at MMS in the US. If you are in the US, in Europe, I can be in more various places. But today we are going to talk about mobile devices, and we're going to start with module 5, which is about securing mobile devices. And we're going to talk about securing access using conditional access and Intune, and why mobile devices plays a huge factor in that. We're going to talk quickly about tenant configuration, what is the difference between MDM and MAM, or application management and device management. And we're also going to talk about platform prerequisite overview for Apple and Google mobile platform in this initial talk. And we're also going to talk about planning for mobile device management, understanding and different management types, enrollment types, and understand the differences between personal versus org-owned devices. Before we start on all of that, let's have a quick look at why we are talking about this and why we are even doing this in the first place. And when we talk about mobile device management, it is not about the desire to manage every aspect of the phone in most cases. Because why are we managing the phone? It's about managing corporate data. It's about controlling how your end users are accessing your corporate data. It's about controlling data leakage. In my opinion, we shouldn't care as much about if we can turn on knob A or knob B on the actual device itself. It's more about how can we secure our corporate applications, our corporate data in a good way by using either MDM or mobile application management, depending on the use case. And then what we need to do to make this successful? Well, we need to have, typically we need to have the business side with us on this. Without buy-in from the business side, it's hard to get to the end of this and do it the correct way, because then there's no point. Because if you try to do a lot of security stuff, and you just get pushback from the business that they don't want it. So that is kind of important to get in place as well. We also typically want to give the end users some options and clarity of what is what and what is not under management. And of course, the how is a little bit about what we're going to talk about today as well, how we can complete a successful rollout. It's mostly about, setting their end user expectations and giving them some guides and information about how they can actually start using their managed devices or getting access to their managed applications. So when you talk about the business, so the business expectations is very often that security should be built in and enabled out of the box. With that, we mean we shouldn't have to do the business things that everything is just, if you go and buy a license, everything should just start working. But that's not how it is. We actually need to do stuff. But the business also give typically expectations down to us that works in IT that whatever we do to make things secure should be easy on staff. And of course, they do want to, protect their corporate intellectual property. Lightweight management. This is a resource question often. I mean, the business would like us to manage with little or no maintenance to the management solution. It should be as self-running as possible. Of course, that's not always the case. We typically need to do some kind of management, whatever the solution we choose to go for. And of course, cost is always an issue. When you talk to the business side, it's like, how much is this going to cost us to get this in place? While the end users, and we can just look ourselves in the mirror, how would we like our ideal managed mobile or managed app platform look like? And most people are used to self-service today. And with that, I mean, they have their Apple phone or they have their Android phone, and they use the App Store to download whatever app they want. They want to communicate. They download different type of messaging apps to do different type of messaging. You have social media, and it's all based on self-service. And the end users is always asking, or often asking, why should their corporate environment or corporate machine or device be any different? It should be easy to get started. The setting up a new device should be simple, and it should be intuitive. It's a typo here, but it's not initiative, but intuitive. The management solution should not impact the end user productivity unless the security around it really requires us to put some restrictions around what they can do. But we should try to make it as seamless as possible because that's what the end users really expect and want. So when you talk about security, we need to start with a strong foundation. It's like building a house, right? If you don't build the foundation strong, it doesn't matter how fancy your house are on the top of it. So before we do anything, let's on the mobile devices, let's talk about some of the basic security things that we should have in place. Users should be required to onboard with MFA or strong authentication prior to even thinking about doing any kind of device enrollment. Conditional access policies is typically not something that the Intune admin works with, but this should be in place to protect against non-corporate approved applications. And this is also something we can use together with Intune to, I would say, force the end users down the path we want them to go when it comes to how to use their mobile device. Implementing this correctly allows minor interruption to the end user during onboarding. We can make the onboarding process really smooth. Or if we do it wrongly, we can get lots of phone calls from people that's not that happy. So the first thing we always do, besides enable maybe some audit logs and everything, so we can go back and see what has been done. One of the first things we do is to start with branding. And branding configuration is available both in Entra and in Intune and in admin portals. It's not only about marketing or design, it is about the fact that this provides a visual confirmation to the end user. You are coming home, you're in the right place. This is your company you're logging into. Your company portal looks like it comes from your own company. And you can also find information about how to get access to support. You can have that as branding as well inside the company portal application. So security typically is handled inside Entra, but there's also details around this inside Intune when it comes to the actual company portal branding. That will be inside Intune. So then we're going to quickly move over to conditional access. And the whole reason I'm talking about this is because this is one of the major reasons why we would like to have conditional access, compliant devices in Intune, is because we can use this together with conditional access. So in the modern world, it's critical that only the right people with the right resources are required to come from secure devices or secure applications when they want to get access to your corporate data. So Microsoft, the conditional access gives you the power to enforce the core principles of zero trust, allows us to verify every attempt to access any kind of application or data within our environment. So we do have some signals over here, which is like, who are you? Where are you coming from? What kind of device are you using? Is your device secure or not? That's kind of the signals we put in on the left side. And then we have the conditional access engine in the middle that makes a decision on, hey, yes, you're allowed to get in, or you're allowed limited access, or I'm going to require you to do, for instance, enrollment, or I'm going to require you to do multi-factor authentication before I let you in. So in conditional access, we have this zero trust policy enforcement happening inside in the middle here. On the left side, we have our identity, we have our endpoints, this is all the signals and where all the signals are coming from. And on the right side, we have all the stuff we want to access. So our applications, our data, our infrastructure, our network, and all of that is on the right side. So how does this look then in a mobile setting? So if you look at conditional access and combining this with Intune and Intune compliance policies, is we do have in Intune, we have compliance policies, allow us to check for if the device is jailbroken, it's rooted, are we on a safe version of the operating system? Is there a PIN requirement on the device? Is the device protected by Google Play? There are also some new things coming in here, but that we will talk about a little bit later when it comes to the different checks that can be done. So Intune is the engine that evaluates compliance when through the compliance policy. And then that will flag the device to either be in 3 different states in Intune. So in Intune, the device is either compliant, it's in grace, or it's not compliant. And if the device is not compliant, Entra ID will be set the flag on the device object in Entra ID. It says, hey, your device is not compliant. If the device is in grace, the device will still be green flagged in Entra until the grace time has expired. At this time, if the device is not compliant, the user tries to log on to, let's say, Teams, and then the conditional access policy might, if you have done it the way it should be done, might block you. The other things can be accessing email, where you're trying to use your native iOS app while your admin has required you to use Outlook and have that protected by app protection policies. In this case, if you try to use the native mail app, it will tell you that, hey, you need to use Outlook to access mail, and then it will tell you to install Outlook and go through the email through that. All of these can be then controlled and managed through conditional access. So when we talk about conditional access, we typically use what we call a persona-based approach to conditional access. And when it comes to the integration of Intune, it's two options we have. It's either require device compliance, which means you need to have a Intune MDM enrolled device, or require app protection. And then this is kind of just a sample of a lot of policies that can be done. And this is kind of using a very defined structure, which we also typically recommend. And let me go to the next one. And this is kind of where we can say, hey, required advice to be marked as compliant. And there is a question I see from David. Can I use conditional access on userless devices like kiosk devices? And yes, you can. But in those scenarios, it is not, we're not talking about app protection policies, but that will be requiring to have a device compliance policy. So you can still say that your kiosk device is requiring to have setting A, B, C, and D set. And in that, if those are matching, the device is compliant. And only at that stage, that device is able to access the backend service it's talking to, as long as that service is connected to Entra ID as well. All right, I think that was it. Yeah, and that's the other one. And here we have two options. It says require approved client app. That is deprecated, should not be used anymore. You need to use the latter one, which is require app protection policy. So protecting identities and data. Employees using legacy or unprotected mail applications, lack of device application management, inability to control from where or with what device a user can sign in. This is kind of the without Intune approach. And with Intune, we will be able to control, restrict, manage, patch, report, and wipe within these managed applications or on the managed devices. So in Intune, so this is kind of just whatever, all of the stuff that can be done in Intune. So I'm moving forward to taking control. And what is important to the organization? And as we talked about earlier, what is important is to contain and protect company-sensitive information. It's about controlling the device security. Maybe you have some regulations on what you should and should not allow to be done on a corporate device. Maybe you don't want to have certain applications in apps installed on the corporate device. Maybe you don't even want to allow it on a personal device if that same device is accessing your corporate data. And also, of course, we can protect against viruses and malware, but that is less of a thing on mobiles, but it is there. And that can be done with integration with, for instance, Defender for Endpoint. At the end of the day, though, it is about flexibility. Try not to make it a dictatorship. And yeah, that is what that is. There is a question, is it possible to present the action items within the admin portal? I'm not sure what the question is around. Can you come off mute?
When you were showing earlier about the conditional access, if you can show us within the admin portal, whether Microsoft 365 or Intune.
So the conditional access stuff happens inside Entra. And in here, let me just do like this. And in here, we can find conditional access. And in here, we could have, we have our policies. And for instance, here we can go into this one. And here we can see that we have these access controls. And in here we can find the different access controls. So this, for instance, is a compliant or hybrid AD join or MFA. So here we are requiring the device to be marked as compliant. We're requiring it to be hybrid join, or we're requiring it to require multi-factor authentication. And in this scenario, we say also at the bottom, require one of the selected controls. So we can choose that whatever, if you are able to say yes to one of these, you will be able to get in. If I did this, it will require you to be both multi-factor and compliant and enter hybrid join, which would not be a good idea for your mobile devices, which will never be hybrid joined, for instance. Does that answer your question, Kiflu?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Sandy. Should you take over the
Yes.
screen, or do you want me to click?
You can click. It's fine. So
Then you tell me
yeah,
when to click.
you can click that. Yeah, we can do that. That's fine. You can click.
Oh yeah, now okay.
Yes, now you can click. No one need that first slide. Yeah. So when we are talking about mobile device management, really often ask the question, many people ask that, is that, should I doing MAM or should I do MDM? Because we do talk about MAM and MDM. So MDM, as we know, is that mobile device management. So MDM itself is like a mobile phones or Windows. We can using the MDM to managing your device, like the whole device. We can configure settings and so on. That's what we normally do for Windows and also mobiles. But now MAM itself, MAM is actually just in the application level. What it actually controlling, managing is in the application itself, and it's the data itself. So it doesn't configure settings on your phone behalf of you. So it does not do that. So requirement, how you do that. So mobile phones, we normally have Android and we also have iOS. For MAM to work, it has requirements. So it needs to have a broker application in the phone. So then it can understand. So because the phone itself is not managed, so that's why we need to have a middle guide in the between. So that's what we normally call is a broker application. So Intune can sense the signal to tell what kind of app protection policy we need to use, or app configuration policy that we want to use in this app level applications like Outlooks and Teams and Microsoft Edge, for example. So for the Android, you need to download, not you, but your user, they need to download the company portal application. They don't need to open the company portal and they don't need to sign in, do that kind of things. They don't need to. They just need to download that. And for iOS, it's also the same. User need to download the Authenticator app. So for iOS phone, they don't need to download the company portal. They just need to authenticate the app. That's all they need. And consideration that is that blocking actions, for example, using conditional access to require application need to have app protection policy. So that's the one that Jan already showed you. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Yes, so benefit of the, now you can click through that. That's fine.
I am.
Yeah, so benefit, we actually already just talked about that already. So protecting company data in the app level. So it's just only protecting the application itself and the data. So let's say you have an Outlook app that you have multiple accounts. For example, like me, I have a hotmail.com. So it's like I still have really a hotmail.com. So that's what I use normally. Then I also have CloudWay.com. So when I sign into CloudWay.com, all the data is protected in this account. So it does not touching my Hotmail at all. So it's only that if I need to do something for my company data, then those things are being protected. And second one, user productivity is not affected. MAM is kind of more user-friendly. So when you configure MAM and deploy the configuration to the users, user only gets, it's just one prompt. So when they sign into your company information, the company data, like me sign in cloudway.com in the Outlook to read my email, the first time I only get a prompt and tell me that your organization is now protecting your data. That's all, everything what they get. So user does not need to do the whole MDM enrollment from scratch, like a download company portal and enroll the machine and next. So user won't need to manually do any of this. So it's kind of like a more user-friendly. Yes, so app protection policy is that how you configure the things, and then it will be in a container, the protected container in the phone itself. And of course, you can also using MDM plus MAM together. You can using both. You don't need to really choose, and both can be working in the same machine as well. So MDM will add an extra layer to the mobile phone itself to protect the phone, the whole phone, and so that you can configure all kind of settings. Like for iOS, you can configure software updates, for example, for iOS. Yep, you can go to the next. So apps without app protection policy, that's how it looks. So if you have a company data in the phone, it's kind of just like they're just in the phone itself, and it's not protected and it's not restricted. For example, if someone send me an email to CloudWay.com, and I can copy and paste it into a chat. Maybe I have a single chat with my friend, and I just copy and paste some text to my friend, or maybe I just take some screenshots. I can do anything, and no one will know what I'm doing. So it's kind of like a free will, for example. And also, if you send me an email, have a very important attachment, and I will be able to just download the attachment and save locally in my phone. And then I can able to send it forward to someone else. So nothing is protected when you don't have an app protection policy. So now we go back to if an app with an app protection policy. So things will be protected. So of course, depends on what you configured in your application MAM policy, application protection policy, depends on how you configured. So you should able to configure data protection, like I can configure restrict copy and paste. Then I'm not allowed to cooperate information into a personal like a personal signal chat or WhatsApp, and I'm not able to copy any of this. Have restrictions. And also additionally, we can also configure that require a PIN code to open the application itself. Let's say, for example, I have a phone that's unmanaged, which I do have a phone that is not unmanaged because I just don't want it to be managed. So I'm using a phone that is only have app protection policy. So let's say someone want to borrow my phone, or maybe I want someone to take a selfie for me, or my kids want to borrow my phone to do something. I don't want they just open my email or open my Teams to start typing for me. So in this case, that the app itself, we can configure that it needs to have a second PIN. So let's say my phone is open, but then I give you your phone, but you won't able to open the Outlook because I have another PIN code in the application itself that requires you to input another PIN to open the app. So that's the one thing it's good to use. And also, like for Android phone, I used to be an Android user back in the days. I do like to root the device. I think Android user know what that means, rooting the device. So then I can download another ROM, and I can maybe change the whole system and maybe do something funny. So in this case, maybe your user are really capable to do such thing. So app protection policy actually can configure also that if the phone is rooted for Android or maybe for iOS, it's jailbroken, then they won't able to open this kind of cooperate data like Outlook, Teams, and Edge, and so on. So that's how application protection policy works. Now, next one, with app protection policy and managed by MDM, everything else is the same. So we have MAM protecting the data and restrict the data movement between all the applications. Only thing is now different is the device is managed. So what that means, the device managed, we can require compliance policy. So that's what we are talking about before, that you have compliance policy and we can using conditional access to require the device to be compliant. And that's how we do the MDM side. And sure, it's not just only compliance policy, because there's some other configuration that what we can configure with. For example, VPN clients. So you might have a VPN client and you wanted to configure VPN on the device. Or maybe you want to configure for Defender. So it's good to have Defender in the mobile phones. So with MDM, you can actually configure this complete silent, like a single sign-on Defender in the phone itself. Then you can have a really smooth user experience that they don't have to sign in all the apps and so on. And of course, then there's a patching. Phone also need to patch. So we can require the phone to be updated. So I think later Jan will show you how fancy it could be required the iOS phone to be patching. Yeah.
Now you need to take the screen, Sandy, because now it's time for you to show something.
Yeah, okay. I can do that. Let me see, where's the...
Quick question.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned earlier it is required to install company portal on Android device, but not on iOS devices. So
yes,
how's the iOS devices get managed if you don't have company portal installed?
So what we were talking about there is for the app protection policies, not the full mobile device management. But if you only want to do app protection policies or application management, the application is the management is built into the applications themselves, like Outlook, Teams, the OneDrive app, and so on.
Okay.
So the reason why you need the company portal app on Android is to handle the device registration into Android ID, because we need to have a device ID to measure this on in Entra. That's the only thing you're using the company portal for in that app protection scenario.
Okay.
I think you're not taking the screen yet, Sandy.
No, not yet, because you were still showing.
Yeah, but you can do that while I
am.
talk, because there is another question here. Is there a instance where you would enroll a bring your own device in MDM? And I would say yes, but this is where you would have, we will get back to that more in detail when we talk about the different deployment methods and the different options for bringing your own device, personal devices into MDM. We will get back to that later, Jake.
Yeah. Am I showing the correct screen that has the portal?
I am seeing the presentation.
What?
Yes, I'm seeing the
weird.
presentation.
Okay.
It's complicated with this team Zoom thing.
Yeah, I don't understand. Let me find the share button. Try again. Oh, okay, now I see. Screen 1 and 2 is different. I know what happened. This is right. Yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so confusing. So this is the portal. So when we talk about app protection policy, normally we open intune.microsoft.com. Then we come to the apps where we can have these app protections. This is the app protection policies. So I already create some of them as a demo. So normally you come get this create, and then you can have choose what kind of app protection policy you are choosing for which platform. So take Android, for example. You're just giving a name like that, but not like that, but just like the one that you should be using for the best naming convention. So for this demo, I'm just only typing something. So not like that. Then next, we can have target to all the applications, or you can choose to all Microsoft application or that kind of core Microsoft application. So which each this catalog have different. So all apps, when you choose all apps, what it will do is that everything Microsoft not built in the Microsoft own applications, and also some third-party how they say, third-party vendor, they will have a partnership with Microsoft. Then they will give the list to Microsoft to tell them that, hey, I have this application and it's packaged with the Intune app protection policy, Intune SDK, right? It's packaged with Intune SDK and is supported with the app protection policies. Then can you approve me? So if Microsoft approve them in the list, then they will show up in the list automatically. So there's a really list of apps. So this app list is now actually growing a lot. It's more than 150, 80. It used to be way less. So it has been more applications that support app protection policies. So if I choose all app in this case, so now first one is you see in here have data protection. That's the one what we were talking about, that restricting what kind of data we are allowed in the phone. What kind of data we are trying to protect. For example, send organization data to other apps. So for here, for example, manage applications. Then we also have this save copy. We can allow them or block them. So when we say block, what does that mean? When you say block, which means that I can choose where people are allowed to saving the data. For example, you send an attachment again to Outlook to an email to your company people. So you receive an email that has attachment. Where you allow the user to save the attachment? Do you allow them to save to the phone locally? Or should you allow them only able to save to OneDrive for business? Or maybe only go to SharePoint? So this is something that what I would normally choose, that is allow people saving company data into OneDrive for Business and SharePoint, not local, but you can also think about if it's a picture, you might want them allow save the picture to their photo library, for example. So this list used to be actually way less. It used to be, if I recall right, it used to be just OneDrive for Business and SharePoint, and local storage. And I don't remember I have seen before this iManage, and I don't even know what is this last one. This is new. That wasn't there before. So it has multiple selections. And of course, it has something else, copy and text data. Where was that? You can allow them to copy and paste how many transfer message, like a message apps. So do you allow them to transfer, copy and paste things within the apps? So there's many things that you can configure in this data protection. And also you can do encryptions and things like that. And you can also configure that, are you allow them to print out organization data? So bunch of settings. And after this page, we also have access requirement. So it's the one that how you allow your people to open and the application itself and access the data. And you can require, for example, PIN code, minimum PIN codes. You can 4 or maybe 6. I think preferable is 6. That's how, yeah. Also, there's something else, and you can also require them. This one is something that be careful. I have done this before, and I have chosen that to require it, which is it's
you
not good.
like pain,
I can
Sandy?
say
That means
this
you
is
need to log
very...
on. You need to log on every time with username and password, right?
Yeah, this one is painful. I thought it was a good idea, require that, but definitely was not. So if you want to get lots of complaint from your users, then you can go ahead to choose this required. Otherwise, that I wouldn't do that. So that is the access requirement. There's a lot of settings, but we are not going to go through each single settings, and that will take more than the 3 hours. So we have next one, conditional launch. This is the one actually I like most because if we are only doing MEM, we don't do MDM. So MDM, we can have the machine being using conditional access required device to be compliant, for example. But conditional launch, it's a similar feature, but I think it's actually have many good things in it. One thing, for example, I like is that if the account is disabled, so this question come out before, people thinking that, okay, if a user leaves the company, or maybe the user has a really long period of break, sick leave or something, that we disable the account. But user is using a phone that, for example, like Outlook, and I still have those offline emails and I have things so people can still able to log in. Or maybe they have some company data is in the phone itself. So what do I do with the phone? And the phone is not managed, so I cannot wipe it. So what should I do? So this is one configuration that if account is disabled, you can choose to block access, or you can choose to wipe data. So there's a selection how you can do that. So that is one good thing with the condition. There's other configurations of course, minimum app version, non-working time. So like this is something that may be really good for people like me, that I sometimes read Teams message and read email out of the working hours, out of the controlled. So this is something that if it's not a working hour, then you can restrict that your people to access the data, for example. This is something I have never used, but this is a new setting. And device condition as well, that we were talked before. If a rooted device, I can block access. That's already by default. And there's many other settings. We can block device manufactured. For example, like Android phone that has many different kind of brand that you may not want your user to use, but they use it anyway. And you don't want they are using this kind of non-brand, whatever brand phones, Android phones to access your company data. Then you will be you can able to block this. So you can do this and select some of them to block that, for example. There's other things as well. We have this require, I think it was, yeah, this one. How to say this in English? Integrity, I think, right? So it's the security level of the phone itself. So this we will actually go a little bit more details when we go to the Android side about the change of this one. So this is about the patching and the security level of the device itself. So there's many good things in the condition launch. And after that, we can have the assignment. So I need to remove something for this because it give me red so that I can continue. Let me just remove this. Then we can continue to do this. Now, assignment. What do you think where this is supposed to be assigned? Is this should be assigning to a device group or a user group? Because we have seen go to customer tenant that we have seen this go wrong. Yes, perfect. I'm so happy that you answer user group. Yes, because we have seen this go to device group. App protection policy itself, this one should assign to users always, because this is related to users' data, and you will see the logic in here. The phone is not managed, so how can you be able to assign this to device? It's impossible. So this has to be in users. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
and
is
there is a
the
few
demo.
questions though.
Yeah.
One is for third-party application, do you have to ask Microsoft to whitelist it? And they know that's a no. So it's about the application developer or the vendor that needs to just integrate the app SDK on their own application. And if they do that, then the app can be protected if they integrate the app SDK and integrate the app with Enter ID for logon, that they don't need to talk to Microsoft. If they want to be on the list on the Microsoft web page of supported applications, yes. But to make it work, no. The next is, does the MAM configuration create a container similar to Android work profile? No, this is contained, as we explained in the images, inside the application itself.
App.
Yeah, so it's the app that has a container or that separates personal data from corporate data.
So the MAM has nothing to do with MDM itself, just in the app application level. So Oliver Blot, you asked this whitelisting. So one scenario, this one in here, select app to accept. So this one, so let's say, sometimes, for example, need to have example. So you have one application that require some sort of verification code to send to Outlook, and then like in Outlook, then it contains a link. When you click the link, then it will open the application to let you sign in. So in this scenario, and if that app is not protected, is not support app protection policy, then in this scenario, many times you will end up using this setting, select the app to accept exception. Then you can able to put the name of the application and the value of the application. So the value will be this app's package ID. Then you need to put the package ID in this value. Then this app will be excluded from the requirement. So this is something that we have many times using this. So it depends on the customer's environment and what kind of app you are using.
Quick question. For example, on my phone, I have Win Defender for Endpoint installed. Where is that policy coming from? Because every time my iOS update is just not up to date completely, it will just prompt me and it will ask me, a new iOS is available. Unless I update it, Defender for Endpoint doesn't work. So I was just trying to understand where this thing coming from, prompting me to update every time there is a new version. Otherwise, it's not like functional kind of thing.
So Defender for Endpoint application is still working, even though your device is tagged as at risk. So the reason why Defender for Endpoint is alerting you is because when Apple releases a new version, there is a lot of security fixes in that version, and the N-1 version is containing vulnerabilities that Apple has disclosed. So it means, hey, we are fixing ABC, and then when ABC is fixed in the new version, everybody knows that's a vulnerability in the old version. So that's why Defender for Endpoint is telling you this. And there's no policy you can set in Defender for Endpoint. This is just a built-in functionality in Defender for Endpoint. But Defender for Endpoint itself, it still does the work. It's still going to do everything, but your device is notifying you that, hey, you should update iOS or Android because you're not up to date.
Okay. Yeah, when I open it, usually it shows me like device protection, it's active, network protection, all kinds of things, web protection. But when it's out of date, all those information get blocked and it will tell me your iOS is out of date. So it's just a built-in feature that comes with it, and I have to update it. Huh?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think you can take the deck forward a little bit, Sandy, because you have the screen anyway.
Okay. Let me. I think that is the next one.
Yes.
Should be. This is the one, right? Yes?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So that is something that come out when we are preparing this. So Microsoft Intune will enforce this change by September 30. So which it's a month ago. I don't know if anyone actually noticed this. Now, when I show you about this condition launch, we have this strong integrity configuration. So it used to be that if your machine, your device, the Android device is running Android 13, and if it has not updated and patched, strong integrity, it's still okay. But now Microsoft changed this last month, September 13, that if you're on Android 13 and if the phone has not patched, has not installed any security update in the past 12 months, then these devices is not like a strong integrity anymore. It will be downgrade to like a device or basic integrity. So if you have compliance settings or if you have a condition launch to require strong integrity, then this Android 13 phone will be get blocked. But then it does not impact Android 12. Android 12 is okay. But if it's Android 13, then you either need to go back to check your compliance policy, see what kind of setting you have, or you should update the phones. So that is one change. And app protection policy timings. So this question also come up that when I configure app protection policy, or if I do a change, how fast you will actually get this to the phone itself. And often we see is that many times, this is Microsoft official documentation that how it has been updated in different scenario, like if the tenant is not onboarded or user don't have license and things like that. And normally when we do that, what we see is that it actually comes down very fast, normally. But in some scenario, nothing happened. So how we normally fix it is that because when we prepare demos and we do lots of changings, normally how we can make it faster is that we uninstall the app and reinstall the app. So in this case, when the app is uninstalled and installed back, the policy usually will come back faster. And also another scenario that what we are going to talk about is except app protection policy, we also have app configuration policy. What we normally really recommend you to do is that you should have both configured. So you should have app protection policy and app configuration policy because they work together. If one without another, then the policy timing itself is getting delayed. So like you see here that the 12 hours, here is that it will be typically 30 minutes with app configuration. So you actually need both. So that would be the our recommendation, how you're supposed to do that. Yes, and app configuration policies. Jan, do you want to talk about this one?
Well, yeah, I think it says Sandy on this, but fine. So application configuration policies, this allows us to control the behavior of the apps itself. So one instance is just click, so we have everything, Sandy. Why should user have to configure their own Outlook profile? And then also on your managed devices, you can set the permission prompts on behalf of the end users. You can automatically send contacts to the native contact list from Outlook. And this is kind of some of the examples of stuff you can do. Next. And I think yes. So historically, there are still some apps that requires us to set a specific variable on MDM managed devices. If you want to have different configuration policies, depending on if the device is MDM or MAM only. So if your device is only MAM, you only use MAM for everybody, you don't need to worry about this. If you have the same policy for MDM devices and MAM devices, you don't really need to worry about this. But if you want to have specific settings for your MDM managed devices versus your MAM only devices, you need to configure this specific value. There are some apps now that comes with this automatically. That is on the next tick, Sandy.
Mhm.
And this will be in the deck for your reference as well. There are some, like, I think it's a year ago now, there can come out a change next in the app configuration policies on iOS. And that is that if you don't do anything on iOS, your screenshots will be blocked in all man-protected applications, because this is the default setting is enabled. So you need to actually, if you want to allow screenshots of your Outlook app or your Teams app or any other MAM application, you would need to go and configure this to be enabled. No, value disabled. You see, you need to enable a policy and set the value to disabled, so you make sure you can still do the screenshots. And there is a quick one showing that. That is just as well for your reference, what is included or not. And it depends on the app version. So it is not necessarily requiring a different version of iOS, but if the app itself is on the latest version of the SDK, this will be in effect. And next. And yes, Intune managed apps will check in every 30 minutes for Intune app configuration policy status when it's deployed in
that's the one
conjunction
we
with
talk
app
about.
protection.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if they are not paired together to like configure both, then it has a really long delay. So like you see, it will be 30 minutes, but if you don't have both together, then it will be way longer time to wait the configuration to apply.
So at the end of the day, though, MAA or MAM or MDM, which is the right fit? Well, it really depends. You need to take an assessment yourself, what you want to do. And at the end of today, we hope you will have better base and knowledge to make this decision. Typically, though, if it's a fully personal device, it's very easy to get started with MAM. If it is a corporate device, in most scenarios, I would go for a fully managed MDM device, but that really depends. That being said, I think though we are a little bit behind the schedule, but so I would like to take the short break now. And if I remember, was it 6 minutes or I'm not sure. Maybe Andrew or Johan can tell us.
We've been doing 7 or 10, so
7
we'll leave
or
it up
10.
to you.
So if we do 7 from right now, we will be back at 5 past the hour. And then we will continue with compliance policies and then move over to Android after the break. 7 minutes. All right, it's 5 past, and we just need to continue running.
Take a screen.
I think I have. You just need to stop sharing, Sandy.
I thought you can just take it.
No, I think we were both sharing actually.
Quick
Do you see my
question.
screen now? You see my screen, right?
Yes, I see your screen.
Perfect.
I
So let's talk about
a question.
Wait. Yes, sure. Go ahead.
For the app protection policy, if you have a managed device, can you enforce the policy to a device, to a managed device instead of the app?
So the app protection policy is only for applications. It's not app protection policy. It's not for the whole device. It's only for the managed applications.
Yeah. So your question is, how can you then enforce the device that has a application protection policy when the phone is not managed? So that will be using the conditional access.
Okay. Because I saw a choice. I saw a choice that when you create the app protection policy, it asks you, is it going to be to manage devices or managed apps? So that's why I was asking. It's okay. Thanks.
Oh, that is app configuration policy.
Yeah, the app configuration.
App config.
policy. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
app
what I'm talking
configuration policy has app configuration policy have option to choose manage app or manage device. So
about. Okay, that's what I
think-
was asking.
yeah.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's okay. So we do have, we were talking about compliance policies, and this is defining the baseline security of the device itself. So this requires the device to be MDM managed, and we can set up this set of policies. And each platform you onboard requires a compliance policy, targeting at dynamic device groups is an option, or filters. And here you can we can define how we're gonna act against the different type of settings. We can look at Defender for Endpoint. This is an example from Android, where we also have the rooted device. It's Google Play Protect instead of the iOS jailbroken device. So compliance policies are great. We also need to notify the user what is happening, so you can help them remediate. So in these circumstances, we typically use grace time, and we also configure the notification. Typically, we can send that through to the end user as push notifications or as an email or both. And then we're telling them what they need to do to get back into a compliant state. So here it tells you you have to update your Android to 14 or higher, or you need to be at a certain patch level. And then if you don't do that in 7 days, you will be blocked from accessing your applications. The other thing, enrollment notifications, we can also notify the end users if a device has been enrolled on their account. And typically this is because this is a new attack vector where we see that attackers are trying to go around this device compliance requirement by enrolling a device under the account they have stolen. So this will tell the end user, hey, there is a device enrolling in your account. And if that is not you, then you should act immediately. When it comes to enrollment, and this is going to go a bit quickly because we do have a full section on each platform where we will go into details of each and every enrollment type of Android and iOS in the next module. So on Android, we have a enrollment type for personal devices, where we have the bring your own. It's 2 types. It's using protect data with MAM, or it's using the Android work profile. The other type is for corporate devices. We have corporate owned dedicated, corporate owned fully managed, we have corporate owned with work profile, and then we have the legacy device administered, which is deprecated and should not be used. I don't think you actually can use it anymore, but for those devices that used to require this, like Teams Room and so on and so forth, they are now moved into this other Android open source project. And this is what is being used on those type of devices today. That was quick. Enrollment types for iOS. We have personal iOS devices. Here we can also have 3 different options for personal device enrollment. One is, again, protect data with MAM only. We can do device enrollment, which allows the end user to enroll the device for being fully managed, but not supervised. And then we have the user enrollment, which we'll also talk more into details about later. We have the corporate iOS devices, and here we have the different enrollment methods, which is the Apple's automated device enrollment, or ADE. We can use Apple School Manager, or we can do Apple Configurator Setup Assistant Enrollment. And then we can do Apple Configurator Direct Enrollment. Typically, though, it's the first one that is being used in most scenarios when you have a corporate iOS device, where you make sure the device is registered in Apple Business Manager / School Manager, and then you make sure that that device is managed from the get-go. As an Intune admin, we can create and manage enrollment restriction, and we can define what is allowed when it comes to enrollment. what type of devices, the number of devices, manufacturers, versions, and so on and so forth. And here we can allow or block personally owned devices. We can allow or block different platforms depending on the need we have in our environment. Do we need personal device enrollment? Do you want to restrict devices enrolling where the OS is not supported? Do you want them to enroll iOS 15 device today? Well, the requirement, you can actually enroll it, but it's not supported for management anymore because it needs to be iOS 17. Should you block specific Android manufacturers? Maybe that's something you want to do. There are some changes in Android 12 that is kind of making it a bit harder to differ between to have what's called corporate identifiers, because during that personal enrollment, the device does no longer tell Intune the email on its own device. So if you want to start with Android management, there are some platform prerequisites. We need to have managed Google Play. This is required for all Android enterprise management. We can do that now. We can set up this with Enter ID now. It used to be only possible to do this with a Google Play account. Android 10 and later are used for user-based management methods. We can still go Android 8 on the dedicated or ASOP useless. So Android 7 is no longer supported, which is kind of good. It's old OS. And we can also have Samsung Knox 3 and higher, Android open source devices. Typically, for one of the most used cases here is Teams devices. And MAM is now a change from Android 9 to requiring Android 10. This is a recent change. On Apple, we have iOS 17 and later, which is required. And basically, that's the requirement on the OS itself. It's a bit easier on iOS. It is N-2 on MDM management. But be aware that if you're going to use Outlook Mobile, there are different requirements on Outlook Mobile than it is for MDM managing the device. Because Outlook Mobile is only supported on N-1. So even though you can do MDM, managing the device on iOS 17, if you're going to use Outlook Mobile, that's only supported on iOS 18 or later. And Android, from January 5, Outlook is only supported on Android 10 or higher. Other platform prerequisites, Apple, we can use Apple Configurator to manually add devices to Apple Business Manager. We can manually supervise devices, and we can run the Configurator app directly on our phone to onboard devices. And we will show you this later. Apple Business Manager, it is to manage your Apple device enrollment, automated device enrollment devices, your autopilot for Apple if you want devices. We can manage your VPP or volume purchase program tokens, which is for applications. Manage corporate app purchases, which again is connected to the VPP token. The other thing is on Intune, we're going to need some connectors. In Apple, we need to have the Apple push notification certificate. On Android, we need to have the managed Google Play, and these connectors are required for MDM management scenarios. So the DEP last sync date here, you can see is unhealthy, and that is because probably something around something we'll show you later. Monitor connector status, Apple MDM push certificate, as we say. This is required to enroll iOS devices. It's required to manage iOS devices. We recommend using a shared email address. There's a 30-day grace, but it must be renewed annually. And do not let this expire, because if you let this expire, you basically, all your devices will fall out of management, and you would need to you would need to re-enroll your devices. Can I change on iOS bringing your own device into a supervised device? Not without resetting the device. But yes, you can move it into supervision, but the device needs to be reset. Oh, that was quick, Sandy.
Yes.
But we will cover all of this again in more detail under each platform.